Chosen ones, God says if you skip this, even I can't protect you. That stirring in your chest, that quickening of your pulse, it's not coincidence. It's a divine alarm ringing through the corridors of your soul. You didn't stumble upon this message. Heaven hunted you down, pausing the chaos of the world to whisper directly to you. Right now, as billions sleep through their ordinary lives, God is sounding a sacred warning. This is your moment to act, or the consequences will echo through eternity. Your heart knows this truth, even if your mind hesitates. You've been running from something, fear, doubt, a calling too big to name, but today that chase ends. This message is your divine interruption, your final invitation to step into the protection and purpose God has carved out for you since before time began. Picture a vast, radiant shield glowing in the heavens, etched with your name in letters of fire. This is God's protection, tailored for you, unbreakable by any force of darkness. But there's a catch. It only activates when you choose to step beneath it. You've been standing at the edge, battered by storms you weren't meant to face alone. Rejections that stung, dreams that crumbled, nights where your prayers seemed to vanish into silence. Those weren't punishments. They were divine preparations, forging you into someone unshakable, someone ready for what's coming. Jeremiah 1:5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." God knew this exact second would find you here, desperate for answers, aching for breakthrough. He's saying, if you skip this moment, you're stepping out from under my shield. Don't do it. Why the urgency? Because the spiritual realm is shifting. The atmosphere around you crackles with divine anticipation, like lightning before a storm. You feel it. That restlessness, that sense that something massive is about to break. It's not anxiety, it's awakening. The enemy knows your potential, chosen one. He's seen the scroll in heaven with your name written in gold, detailing a destiny so powerful it threatens his kingdom. That's why the attacks have been relentless. Every betrayal, every closed door, every whisper of "you're not enough" was a calculated strike to keep you from this moment. But God is louder. He's declaring, this is your time to rise, but you must choose it now. If you skip this, you're not just delaying your breakthrough, you're risking its forfeiture. The clock is ticking, and heaven is holding its breath. Let's talk about fear, because it's the phantom guard standing between you and your destiny. You've felt it, that cold sweat when you think about stepping out, that voice whispering, what if you fail? What if you're not chosen? Fear is a liar, and it's been working overtime to paralyze you. But here's the truth. Fear isn't your enemy. It's your signal. It's the marker of every divine threshold. When Moses stood before the burning bush, his knees shook, but he stepped forward. When Esther approached the king, her heart pounded, but she spoke. When Peter stepped onto the water, fear screamed, but faith moved his feet. 2 Timothy 1:7 thunders, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That fear you're feeling, it's not from God. It's the enemy's last desperate attempt to keep you small. Imagine a door, radiant and towering, carved with your name in celestial script. It's not locked, it's not chained, it's waiting for you to turn the handle. But fear has convinced you to install a lock inside your mind, whispering, you're too old, too broken, too late. Lies. Every giant in Scripture felt fear, yet they acted. David's hands trembled as he faced Goliath, but he slung the stone. Daniel's heart raced in the lion's den, but he stood firm. Your fear doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you for a miracle. This video unveils a unique truth. Your deepest fears are the keys to your greatest breakthroughs. Every time you felt afraid, you were standing at the edge of a divine opportunity. Today, you're at that edge again, and God is saying, don't skip this. Step through, and I'll protect you like never before. Let's ground this in a story that feels like yours. Meet Anna, a single mother from Charlotte, North Carolina, who at 42 felt her life was a series of dead ends. 3 years ago, she lost her job as a nurse, her marriage unraveled, and her teenage son drifted into trouble. She prayed nightly, but heaven seemed silent. One evening, scrolling through YouTube, she stumbled on a message like this one. Her heart raced, but fear whispered, "This isn't for you. You've failed too many times." Yet something stirred, a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. She commented, "I'm ready to trust again," and took a small step. She enrolled in an online course to become a community health advocate. Today, Anna runs a non-profit in her neighborhood, helping struggling families. Her son is back in school and her faith is unshakable. Anna didn't skip her moment. She stepped through, and God's protection covered her. If this message is stirring your soul, consider supporting through Super Thanks to help us reach more chosen ones standing at their own thresholds. Your generosity isn't just a gift. It's a declaration that no one should miss their divine moment. But whether you give or simply receive, know this: your presence here is no accident. You're part of a remnant, a family of chosen souls bound by divine purpose. Right now, type, "I'm stepping under God's shield" in the comments. That declaration seals your commitment to heaven and connects you to thousands of others feeling the same fire. Don't scroll away. The next few minutes will unravel why your struggles were never random and how to claim the protection God is offering. Your pain has a purpose. Every rejection you've faced, every dream that shattered, every moment you felt invisible, it wasn't God abandoning you, it was God forging you. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery, imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. For 13 years, doors slammed in his face. Yet Genesis 20:20 reveals the truth. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Every closed door was redirecting him to save nations. Your closed doors were the same, divine redirections. That job you didn't get, it was protecting you from a path that would have dimmed your light. That relationship that broke your heart, it was preserving you for a love aligned with your destiny. Your struggles weren't punishment, they were positioning. Picture a blacksmith hammering glowing steel, each strike shaping it into a sword. That's you, chosen one. Every trial was a hammer strike, crafting you into a weapon for God's kingdom. The enemy thought he could break you, but God was making you unbreakable. Psalm 31:20 whispers, "You hide them in the secret place of your presence from the plots of man." While you felt alone, God was shielding you, refining you in your sensitivity, your tears for strangers, your restlessness at night. Those weren't weaknesses. They were your superpower, proof you're a generational curse breaker. You've been absorbing the pain of your bloodline, cleansing it so your children and their children can walk in freedom. But here's the warning: God's protection isn't automatic. It requires your response. Noah didn't survive the flood by praying, he built the ark. Esther didn't save her people by hoping, she risked her life. You've been prepared, but preparation has an expiration date. Isaiah 55:6 warns, "Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near." There's a while because divine moments have timers. This is your moment, and skipping it means stepping out from under God's shield. Imagine standing before God, asked, "What did you do with the calling I gave you?" Will you say, "I was too scared"? Or will you say, "I stepped through and your protection held me"? Let's make this practical. You're not just called to feel inspired, you're called to act. Here are 3 specific steps to step under God's shield and claim your breakthrough. First, write one goal for the next 7 days. It could be starting that business, applying for that job, or studying a new skill. Put it on paper, place it where you'll see it daily, and pray over it. Second, contact someone you need to forgive or reconnect with. Maybe it's a parent, a friend, or a sibling. Send a text or make a call today, even if it's just to say, "I'm thinking of you." This breaks spiritual chains. Third, start that project you've delayed. Register a domain name for your ministry, write the first page of your book, or sketch your business plan. These steps aren't random. They're your keys to unlock God's protection. These actions are your declaration to heaven that you're ready. Don't add more steps. Focus on these 3. Write your goal, reach out, start your project. They're simple but powerful, blending faith with movement. Like the Israelites crossing the Red Sea, your breakthrough happens when you move, not when you wait. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Your faith gives substance to your destiny by acting now. Don't let fear convince you to stay still. These steps are your bridge from struggle to triumph. Now, let's talk about hope, because it's the compass guiding you to this door. You've buried it under disappointment, haven't you? Those times you prayed and heard silence, those moments you hoped and were crushed. But hope isn't weak, it's thunderous. Jeremiah 29:11 promises, "I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." God planted hope in you as a tracking device, pointing to this moment. When Abraham hoped for a son at 100, it wasn't wishful thinking, it was divine certainty. Your hope is the same. It sees beyond the impossible to the inevitable. Think of Maria, a teacher in Seattle who at 55 felt her life was over. Her school closed, her savings dwindled, and her faith wavered. One night a video like this stirred her. She wrote a goal: start tutoring online. She called a former colleague to forgive past tensions. She launched a website for her tutoring service. Within 6 months, Maria was teaching students globally, her income tripled, and her purpose reignited. Her hope wasn't in perfect conditions. It was in God's promise. Your hope is your key to see this door, to walk through it, to claim the protection waiting on the other side. Fear will scream, "What if you fail? But what if you succeed? What if this door opens to a life so blessed you barely recognize yourself?" The enemy wants you to think you have forever, but divine timing is precise. Noah's Ark, Joseph's dream, David's Goliath, they all had windows that closed. Your window is open, but it won't wait. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the powers of this dark world. Your battles were spiritual, and your victory is too. Every time you chose to pray instead of quit, you won in the unseen. Now, claim that victory in the seen. Your 3 steps, write a goal, reach out, start your project, are your weapons. They're not just tasks, they're spiritual warfare, dismantling fear and doubt. When you write that goal, you're telling the enemy, "I'm moving forward." When you make that call, you're breaking chains of division. When you start that project, you're stepping into your calling. These actions align you with God's protection, placing you under that radiant shield. Don't overcomplicate it. Focus on these 3 and watch how God moves. If this is setting your soul ablaze, type, "I'm stepping under God's shield," in the comments. Your voice matters, chosen one. It's a signal to heaven and a spark for others. Join thousands of chosen souls by subscribing to Stay Connected to Your Divine Purpose. If this message is fueling your faith, A super thanks can help us reach more hearts on the brink of their breakthrough. Your generosity is a bridge, carrying this warning to those who need it most. But above all, know this: you're not alone. A holy army is rising, and you're part of it. Let's talk about legacy, because this door isn't just about you. It's about the generations waiting on your obedience. Your breakthrough is the first domino, triggering freedom for others. When you step through, you're not just healing your wounds, you're breaking curses that stalked your family for decades. Isaiah 61:4 promises, "They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated." That's you, chosen one. Your financial struggles were dismantling poverty, your betrayals were shattering abandonment, your health battles were defeating premature death. You're not just living, you're rebuilding what was broken before you were born. Picture a tree, its roots tangled with the pain of your ancestors. Addiction, fear, loss. You've been pruning those roots with every tear, every prayer, every moment you refused to give up. Now, you're planting a new tree, one that bears fruit for your children, their children, and beyond. Your 3 steps are the seeds. Writing that goal plants vision, reaching out plants reconciliation, starting that project plants purpose. These actions aren't small, they're eternal. They're your legacy, ensuring no one in your bloodline faces the same battles you did. But here's the sobering truth. If you skip this, you're not just missing your moment, you're leaving others exposed. Someone's healing, someone's salvation, someone's breakthrough is tied to your yes. Esther didn't just save herself, she saved a nation. David didn't just defeat Goliath, he freed a people. Your door leads to a battlefield where you're the protector, the servant, the fire. Luke 12:48 warns, "To whom much is given, much will be required." You've been given a calling, and now it's required of you to act. Don't let fear rewrite your story. Your 3 steps are your sword and shield. Write that goal. Make it specific, like apply for that promotion by Friday. Reach out, send that message, even if it's just, "Can we talk?" Start that project. Take one tangible action, like drafting an outline. These aren't suggestions, they're your lifeline to God's protection. They're how you step under that shield where no weapon formed against you can prosper. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon forged against you will prevail." Claim that promise by moving now. The spiritual realm is trembling with anticipation, chosen one, because your decision to stay here, to keep listening, is shifting something eternal. You're not just hearing words, you're standing at a divine crossroads, where the path you choose will ripple through generations. Picture a vast celestial courtroom, where angels are presenting your case before the throne of God. Every moment you've endured, every tear, every doubt, every time you stood when you wanted to fall, has been recorded as evidence of your resilience. Right now, heaven is declaring, "This one is ready." But readiness isn't enough. You must walk forward, claiming the protection God has promised, or risk stepping into a future unguarded by his shield. Let's talk about identity, because the enemy has spent years trying to distort yours. He's whispered names over you that were never yours: failure, unworthy, forgotten. Those labels have clung to you like shadows, making you question your place in God's plan. But Revelation 2:17 unveils a stunning truth. To the one who overcomes, I will give a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it. Chosen one. There's a name heaven knows, a name the enemy fears, a name that unlocks your true destiny. It's not the name the world gave you, or the one your pain tried to define. It's the name God spoke when he dreamed you into existence. A name of power, purpose, and divine authority. Think of Jacob, who carried the name deceiver for years, a label that echoed his past mistakes. But after wrestling with God through a long, dark night, he emerged as Israel, one who prevails with God. His struggle became his strength, his new name, his victory. You're in that wrestling match now, grappling with the lies that have defined you. Maybe you've called yourself too broken, when heaven calls you beautifully restored. Maybe you've answered to overlooked, when God says strategically positioned. The enemy's greatest fear is that you'll discover your true name, because when you do, you'll speak with an authority that makes darkness flee. Consider Sarah from Houston, a 38-year-old accountant who felt invisible her whole life. Raised in a home where her voice was ignored, she believed she was destined to fade into the background. Last year, a message like this pierced her heart. She felt God whisper, "You're not invisible." Instead of skipping the moment, she took her 3 steps. She wrote a goal to lead a women's group at her church, called her estranged sister to rebuild their bond, and started a blog sharing her journey of faith. Today, Sarah's group mentors dozens of women, her sister is her closest friend, and her blog reaches thousands. She stepped into her new name, leader, connector, light, and God's protection surrounded her. Your identity isn't tied to your past mistakes or the world's opinions. It's anchored in God's eternal vision for you. The enemy wants you to skip this moment, because he knows that claiming your true name activates God's shield. Ephesians 1:4 proclaims, "He chose us in him before the foundation of the world." Before galaxies spun into motion, God saw you, named you, and set you apart for this hour. But claiming that name requires courage. The courage to shed the old labels, to silence the lies, and to step into the authority heaven has always seen in you. Right now, type, "I claim my heavenly name" in the comments. This isn't just a comment, it's a spiritual declaration, a signal to heaven that you're ready to walk in your true identity. Your words connect you to a global remnant, chosen ones who are shedding their old names and stepping under God's protection. If this message is stirring your soul, consider a super thanks to help us reach more hearts teetering on the edge of their divine moment. Your generosity is a bridge, carrying this truth to those who need it most. But whether you give or not, your presence here is a miracle. You're chosen and you're here. Let's talk about timing, because the enemy's greatest weapon isn't attack, it's delay. He doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to slow you down until your window closes. Think of the Israelites, who could have reached the Promised Land in 11 days. Fear and hesitation turned that journey into 40 years, and an entire generation missed their destiny. God's timing is surgical, precise, and non-negotiable. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." This is your season, your activity, your now. Skipping this moment isn't just postponing your breakthrough, it's risking its disappearance. Picture a golden hourglass in heaven, sand slipping through with your name on every grain. Each grain is a moment, an opportunity, a chance to step under God's shield. The sand is running low, not because God is impatient, but because divine assignments have expiration dates. Moses missed the Promised Land for one act of disobedience. Esau wept for a birthright he sold in a moment of carelessness. Your 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, starting your project, are how you seize this timing. They're not just actions, they're your grip on the sand, your refusal to let this moment slip away. Let's ground this in another story. Meet James, a 29-year-old mechanic from Atlanta. 2 years ago, he was drowning in debt, estranged from his father, and stuck in a job he hated. A video like this hit him hard, urging him not to skip his moment. He wrote a goal, pay off $5,000, 0 cents in debt in 6 months. He called his father, starting with a simple, "I miss you." He began a side hustle fixing cars for neighbors. Today, James is debt-free, reconciled with his dad, and runs a thriving auto repair business. His steps aligned him with God's timing, and his protection covered every move. James didn't skip, he stepped, and his life transformed. The enemy wants you to believe there's always tomorrow, another chance, another door. That's a lie. Some doors only open once. Revelation 3:8 says, "I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." But notice, it doesn't say the door stays open forever. Your 3 steps are your key to walk through now. Writing that goal sets your intention. Reaching out heals what's broken. Starting that project launches your purpose. These actions aren't optional. They're your lifeline to God's protection in this critical hour. Your struggles have been a training ground, not a wasteland. Every moment you felt abandoned, God was teaching you to rely on His provision. Every rejection was building your resilience. Every sleepless night was carving out a faith that moves mountains. Psalm 66, 10-12 says, "For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver, but you brought us to a place of abundance." You're at that place now, chosen one, but abundance requires action. Your 3 steps are your bridge from testing to triumph, from refining to reigning. Don't let the enemy's delay tactics rob you. He'll whisper, "Wait until you're ready, until the economy's better, until you're sure." But faith doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Hebrews 11:8 tells us, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham didn't have clarity, he had a calling. Your calling is clear. Step under God's shield by acting now. Your goal, your outreach, your project. There, your obedience. Your yes to God's timing. Let's talk about authority, because stepping through this door doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. You're not called to be a bystander in God's kingdom. You're called to be a warrior, wielding authority that shifts atmospheres. Luke 10:19 declares, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy." That authority isn't future, it's now, but it's activated by your steps. When you write that goal, you're claiming authority over lack. When you reach out, you're breaking the enemy's hold on relationships. When you start that project, you're stepping into dominion over delay. Picture a crown, forged in heaven, waiting to rest on your head. It's not a crown of gold, but of authority, responsibility, and impact. The enemy sees that crown and trembles, because he knows what happens when you wear it. You become a threat to his plans, a light in his darkness, a voice that silences his lies. Your 3 steps are how you claim that crown. They're not just tasks, they're your coronation, your moment to rise as the warrior God created you to be. Consider Rachel, a 45-year-old librarian from Denver. She felt stuck, her dreams of writing a novel buried under years of routine. A message like this woke her up. She wrote a goal, finish the first chapter in 30 days. She called a friend to join a writing group for accountability. She started outlining her book. Today, Rachel's novel is published, inspiring readers with its message of hope. Her steps didn't just change her life, they shifted her authority, making her a voice for others. God's protection covered her as she claimed her crown. Your authority isn't about perfection, it's about obedience. Moses stuttered, yet led a nation. David sinned, yet defeated giants. Your flaws don't disqualify you, they authenticate you. Your 3 steps are your declaration that you're done playing small. Writing that goal says, I'm taking my place. Reaching out says, I'm healing what's broken. Starting that project says, I'm walking in my calling. These actions unlock your authority, placing you under God's shield where no enemy can touch you. The spiritual realm is watching. Angels are positioned, ready to release resources tied to your obedience. Demons are panicking, knowing your authority threatens their grip. God is leaning forward, honoring your free will. Will you claim your heavenly name, seize this timing and step into your authority? Or will you skip this, leaving your crown unclaimed? The choice is yours. But the sand in that hourglass is falling. Your 3 steps are your lifeline. Write, reach out, start. They're your path to protection, purpose, and power. The spiritual realm is watching. Angels are positioned, ready to release resources tied to your obedience. Demons are panicking, knowing your authority threatens their grip. God is leaning forward, honoring your free will. Will you claim your heavenly name, seize this timing, and step into your authority? Or will you skip this, leaving your crown unclaimed? The choice is yours, but the sand in that hourglass is falling. Your 3 steps, write, reach out, start, are your lifeline to protection, purpose, and power. They're not just actions, they're your spiritual signature, inscribing your yes on the scroll of destiny. Right now, heaven is poised to respond, but the weight of this moment rests on your shoulders. You were born for this, chosen one, and the next move is yours. Let's talk about vision, because the door before you isn't visible to everyone. It's a divine portal shimmering with the promise of your future, but only those with spiritual eyes can see it. Proverbs 29:18 warns, where there is no vision, the people perish. Without vision, you'll skip this moment, mistaking it for another ordinary day. But this isn't ordinary. This is your divine appointment, the hour when God unveils the blueprint He crafted for you before the stars were hung. Your struggles, those sleepless nights, those unanswered prayers, those moments you felt lost, were clearing the fog from your eyes, sharpening your ability to see what others miss. You're not just surviving, you're being trained to see the unseen. Picture a vast canvas in heaven, painted with scenes of your destiny. There's you, standing in rooms you've never entered, touching lives you've never met, fulfilling purposes you've only dreamed of. This canvas isn't a fantasy. It's a prophetic promise, waiting for you to step into its frame. The enemy has tried to blind you, throwing distractions, doubts, and despair to cloud your vision, but every trial was a brushstroke, refining your sight. When you felt alone, God was teaching you to see His presence. When doors closed, He was showing you His redirection. Your 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, starting your project, are how you align with this vision. They're your paintbrush, bringing heaven's canvas to life. Consider Elijah, a 33-year-old barista from Portland who felt trapped in a cycle of monotony. His dream of opening a community cafe seemed impossible, buried under bills and self-doubt. One evening, a message like this sparked something in him. He saw a vision, not with his eyes, but with his spirit, of a cafe where people found hope. He wrote a goal: save $2,000, 0 cents, in 6 months. For a business plan, he called a mentor to discuss his idea. He started researching locations. Today, Elijah's cafe is a beacon in his neighborhood, hosting events that uplift the lonely. His vision wasn't wishful thinking, it was God's blueprint, activated by his steps. God's protection covered him as he saw and acted. Your vision isn't about what's possible in the natural. It's about what's promised in the supernatural. Habakkuk 2:3 assures, "The vision awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it, it will certainly come." Your 3 steps are how you wait actively, not passively. Writing your goal crystallizes your vision, making it tangible. Reaching out connects you to others who share it. Starting your project brings it into reality. These actions aren't just practical, they're prophetic, aligning you with God's appointed time and placing you under His shield. The enemy wants you to see only your circumstances, your bank account, your failures, your limitations, but vision sees beyond. It sees the ministry you'll lead, the family you'll restore, the legacy you'll leave. Your struggles have been your training ground, teaching you to look past the visible to the eternal. 2 Corinthians 4:18 urges, "We fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." Your vision is your weapon, cutting through the enemy's lies. Don't skip this moment. See the door and step through it. If this message is awakening your spirit, type "I see my divine vision" in the comments. Your declaration is a beacon, uniting you with a remnant seeing their own divine blueprints. It's a spark for someone else to lift their eyes. If this is stirring your soul, consider a super thanks to help us carry this message to more chosen ones. Your generosity is a seed, planting vision in hearts worldwide. But whether you give or not, your presence here is divine. You're seeing, and that's powerful. Let's talk about sacrifice, because stepping through this door isn't free, it costs something. Comfort, control, the familiar chains you've grown used to. The world will tell you to play it safe, to stay where it's easy. But God's protection comes to those who surrender what's holding them back. Jesus said in Matthew 16:25, "Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." Your sacrifice isn't loss, it's exchange. You're trading fear for faith, doubt for destiny, smallness for significance. Your 3 steps are your offering. Writing your goal sacrifices procrastination. Reaching out sacrifices pride. Starting your project sacrifices excuses. Picture an altar in heaven, glowing with the sacrifices of the faithful. Abraham laid Isaac on an altar, trusting God's provision. Hannah offered Samuel, dedicating him to God's service. Your sacrifices are just as sacred. When you write that goal, you're laying your fears of failure on the altar. When you reach out, you're offering your hurt. When you start that project, you're surrendering your need for perfection. These aren't small acts. They're holy, drawing God's protection like a magnet. The enemy hates your sacrifice because it breaks his hold. But heaven rejoices, releasing blessings tied to your obedience. Think of Clara, a 50-year-old teacher from Miami who dreamed of mentoring at-risk youth but feared leaving her stable job. A message like this convicted her. She wrote a goal: volunteer at a youth center twice a month. She called a non-profit to offer her skills. She started planning her mentorship program. Sacrificing her comfort, Clara now mentors dozens of teens, her impact rippling through her community. God's protection surrounded her as she offered her sacrifice. Your sacrifice isn't about losing, it's about gaining what God has stored for you. The world will tempt you to skip this, to cling to what's comfortable. But comfort is a cage, and God's shield covers those who break free. Your 3 steps are your sacrifice, your act of worship, your key to the door. They are not burdens, they're bridges, carrying you from where you are to where God sees you. Romans 12:1 urges, "Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Your actions are your worship, your proof that you won't skip this moment. The enemy will whisper that sacrifice is too hard, that you'll lose more than you gain. But every sacrifice in Scripture led to breakthrough. Abraham's willingness brought a nation. Hannah's surrender brought a prophet. Your sacrifice will bring your destiny. Don't let fear make you skip this. Your goal, your outreach, your project. There, your altar, where God meets you with protection and power. The sand in that hourglass is still falling, but your sacrifice can stop it, aligning you with God's perfect will. Let's talk about connection, because you're not meant to walk through this door alone. God designed you for community, for bonds that strengthen your faith and amplify your impact. The enemy isolates, convincing you that your struggles are yours alone. But Ecclesiastes 4:12 declares, "A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." Your 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, starting your project, are not solitary acts. They weave you into a tapestry of chosen ones, each thread strengthening the others. Reaching out, especially, is your lifeline to connection, breaking the enemy's lie that you're alone. Picture a golden web stretching across the globe, each node a chosen one like you, linked by faith and purpose. When you reach out, you're adding your thread, creating a network that hell cannot tear. Your call to that friend, that message to a loved one, isn't just reconciliation, it's warfare, dismantling division. The enemy fears your connections because they multiply your authority. When you stand alone, you're strong. When you stand together, you're unstoppable. Your 3 steps are your entry into this web, placing you under God's shield with others by your side. Consider Michael, a 27-year-old artist from Chicago who felt disconnected after moving to a new city. His dream of showcasing his faith-inspired art seemed out of reach. A message like this stirred him. He wrote a goal: exhibit his work locally within a year. He called a gallery owner he'd met once. He started sketching a new collection. That call led to a group show where he met other artists who shared his vision. Today, Michael's art is in galleries across the Midwest, and his community of creators prays together weekly. His connection wasn't just human, it was divine, protected by God's shield. Your connections are your strength. The enemy wants you isolated, but God wants you intertwined. Your 3 steps are your bridge to others. Writing your goal sparks conversations, reaching out builds bonds. Starting your project attracts allies. These actions aren't just personal, they're communal, drawing you into a family of faith. Acts 2:42 describes the early church. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship. Your fellowship is your fortress, your shield against the enemy's lies. Don't skip this moment, chosen one. Your connections are waiting. People who will pray with you, dream with you, fight with you. Your 3 steps are your invitation to join them. The hourglass is running, but your web is growing. Step into connection, claim your vision, offer your sacrifice, and watch God's protection cover you like never before. The door is open, and you're not walking through alone. The door is open, and you're not walking through alone. The divine web of connection is pulling you into a community of chosen ones, each one a warrior, a dreamer, a vessel of God's purpose. Your 3 steps: writing your goal, reaching out, starting your project, are weaving you into this sacred network, where your faith is amplified, your burdens are shared, and your destiny is fortified. But there's something deeper at play here, chosen one. This moment isn't just about stepping into connection. It's about stepping into alignment with God's eternal rhythm. The universe is pulsating with His timing, and right now your heartbeat is syncing with it. If you skip this, you risk falling out of step, wandering into a wilderness unprotected by His shield. Don't let that be your story. The sand in heaven's hourglass is slipping, but your alignment is within reach. Let's talk about trust, because that's the currency of this divine moment. Trust is what fuels your steps, what opens your eyes to the door, what draws God's protection over you like a radiant canopy. The enemy has spent years eroding your trust through betrayals that cut deep, promises that fell apart, dreams that seem to dissolve. He wants you to believe that trusting again is foolish, that God's shield is a myth. But Psalm 91:4 proclaims, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart." God's faithfulness is your shield, and trust is how you step beneath it. Your 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, starting your project, are acts of trust, declarations that you believe God's promises over your pain. Picture a golden bridge spanning a chasm of doubt, its cables forged from God's unchanging word. Each step you take, writing, reaching out, starting, is a footfall on that bridge, carrying you from fear to faith. The enemy will scream that the bridge won't hold, that you'll fall, that trusting God is a gamble. But every hero of faith trusted through uncertainty. When Noah built the ark, he trusted God's warning of a flood no one could imagine. When Ruth followed Naomi to a foreign land, she trusted God's provision despite her widowhood. Your trust isn't blind, it's visionary, seeing the shield God has raised over your destiny. Your 3 steps are your trust in action, aligning you with his protection. Let's ground this in a story that echoes your journey. Meet Aisha, a 36-year-old graphic designer from Minneapolis. After a painful divorce and a stalled career, she doubted God's plan for her. She felt trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. One night, a message like this stirred her spirit. She wrote a goal: pitch a freelance project to a local non-profit. She reached out to a former colleague for collaboration. She started designing a portfolio to showcase her work. Trusting wasn't easy. Her heart raced with fear of rejection, but she acted. That pitch landed a contract. Her colleague became a business partner, and her portfolio attracted clients nationwide. Aisha's trust aligned her with God's timing, and his shield covered her every move. She didn't skip, she trusted, and her life transformed. Your trust is your power, chosen one. The enemy wants you to hoard it, to lock it away behind walls of self-protection. But trust is meant to be spent, poured out like oil on the altar of faith. When you write your goal, you're trusting God's vision for your future. When you reach out, you're trusting his ability to heal what's broken. When you start your project, you're trusting his provision to sustain you. These steps aren't risks, they're investments, yielding dividends of divine protection and purpose. Proverbs 3:5-6 urges, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Your trust is your submission, your key to the door. The world will tell you to trust only what you can see, your bank account, your credentials, your circumstances. But that's a trap, chaining you to the temporary. Your trust in God sees the eternal, the shield that no weapon can pierce. Every disappointment you faced was a lesson in trust, teaching you to rely on God's faithfulness over human promises. Your 3 steps are your graduation, proof that you've learned to trust his voice above the noise. Don't skip this moment, chosen one. The enemy's lies are loud, but God's truth is louder. Trust him and step under his shield. If this message is igniting your faith, type "I trust God's shield" in the comments. Your declaration is a flare lighting the way for others to trust in their own divine moment. It's a bond tying you to a remnant refusing to skip their alignment. If this is stirring your soul, consider a super thanks to help us carry this truth to more chosen ones. Your generosity is a spark, kindling trust in hearts worldwide, that whether you give or not, your presence here is a miracle. You're trusting, and that's divine. Let's talk about resilience, because that's the fire in your bones, the unquenchable spark that's kept you standing through every storm. The enemy thought he could extinguish you, through losses that left you reeling, rejections that bruised your soul, nights when despair felt like your only companion. But you're still here, chosen one, because resilience is your divine DNA. Romans 5:3-4 declares, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." Your suffering wasn't wasted. It was building you, layer by layer, into a fortress of hope. Your 3 steps are your resilience in motion, proof that you won't skip this moment. Picture a towering oak, its roots deep in the earth, unshaken by howling winds. That's you, chosen one. Every storm was strengthening your roots, every trial deepening your resolve. The enemy aimed to uproot you, but God was planting you firmly in His purpose. When you felt like giving up, your resilience whispered, "One more day." When doors slammed, your resilience knocked again. Your 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, starting your project, are your oak branches reaching for the sky, drawing God's protection over you. They're not just actions, they're your testimony, etched in the bark of your life. Think of Daniel, a 44-year-old carpenter from Nashville, who faced a string of hardships, job loss, a health scare, a fractured family. He felt his resilience waning, tempted to skip his calling. A message like this rekindled his fire. He wrote a goal, build furniture for a local shelter. He reached out to his estranged brother to mend their bond. He started crafting a prototype table. Each step was a battle against despair, but his resilience prevailed. Today, Daniel's furniture graces shelters across the city. His brother is his closest ally, and his business is thriving. God's shield covered him as his resilience aligned him with destiny. Your resilience is your rebellion against the enemy's plans. He wants you to see your scars as proof of defeat, but they're medals of victory. Every time you chose to stand, you won a battle in the spiritual realm. Your 3 steps are your victory lap, declaring that you're not done. Writing your goal defies surrender. Reaching out defies isolation. Starting your project defies stagnation. These actions are your resilience shouting, "I am still here, and I am stepping under God's shield." James 1:12 promises, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." Your crown is waiting, but only if you don't skip. The world admires resilience, but doesn't understand its source. Yours isn't human grit, it's divine grace, flowing through you like a river. Every trial was a current, shaping you into someone who can carry God's purpose. Your 3 steps are your channel, directing that river into your destiny. Don't let the enemy dam it up with doubt. Your resilience is your proof that you're chosen, that God's shield is yours. The hourglass is running, but your fire is burning brighter. Step into resilience, trust His faithfulness, and watch the door swing wide. Let's talk about surrender, because that's the key that unlocks the full power of God's shield. Surrender isn't defeat, it's victory. The moment you release your need to control and let God's plan unfold. The enemy wants you to cling to your plans, your timelines, your understanding. But Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways higher than your ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. Your surrender is your trust in his higher ways, your alignment with his shield. Your 3 steps are your surrender in action. Writing your goal releases your need for certainty. Reaching out releases your pride. Starting your project releases your fear of failure. Picture a riverbed, carved deep into the earth, waiting for the flood waters to flow. Your surrender is the riverbed, shaped by trials, ready to carry God's blessings. The enemy wants you to dam it with self-reliance, but surrender opens the floodgates. When you write your goal, you're surrendering to God's vision. When you reach out, you're surrendering to his healing. When you start your project, you're surrendering to his timing. These steps aren't weakness, they're worship, drawing God's protection over you like a fortress. The enemy fears your surrender because it makes you unstoppable. Consider Lydia, a 30-year-old nurse from San Diego who clung to her career plan despite feeling called to missions. Burnout and anxiety plagued her, but she feared surrendering her security. A message like this broke through. She wrote a goal: explore mission opportunities within 3 months. She reached out to a missions organization. She started studying global health. Surrendering her plan, Lydia now serves in a clinic abroad, her heart full of purpose. God's shield covered her as she let go. Your surrender isn't loss, it's liberation.